Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Painted in Color podcast. I am co-host Lauren Brown, joined today by co-hosts Mia Araujo, Eric Wilkerson, and Esther Wu. We are all together to discuss the end of 2021 and what we want to bring into 2022. This has been a rough year, so let's get into the conversation. I had like two bullet journals this year, like one was creative and one was just like everything else. Guess which one I updated the most?
The non-creative one?
Neither of them.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
I was a hot mess this year. It was real bad.
No, it's all good. I didn't even finish my productivity planner that I shared on the show. I stopped using it months ago. So
yeah, I did October after dropping off from September. And then I didn't do any more months, but I did something, and that's the accomplishment, so
yeah, exactly.
You can't do everything.
And I think it's good to compare your plans versus what happened, even if you think it's embarrassing, just because sometimes your plans are kind of ridiculous, considering the circumstances. So
oftentimes it was. I mean, look, I got a beautiful page. Look at this.
Oh,
I filled something out. It was January, but I finished it. Isn't that cool?
That is cool.
That's it.
But what was on that list that you achieved?
The list of things I achieved?
Yeah.
Let me look. Because I had like a monthly goal thing. I didn't do my yearly goals this year, I don't think. But my monthly goal for January, what did I want to do? I wanted to finish Deck of Wonders. Probably like way sooner than I actually finished it, but I think I finished it. I think the files are at the printer. Anything could happen. So, I'm not going to really put a lot of hope into that. I kind of have PTSD, honestly, from all the times that things have been sent back to me. So, Finish Heck and Hounds. I did that. That was another freelance project. I said I was going to study more. Didn't do that. I did some health things. I played more DDR, which was nice. I got more plants, which I said I would do. That's a fun goal. Sometimes it's really nice to have fun goals in your journal that you want to accomplish, like get more plants. Let's see. I wanted to write lore for my story. Technically I did that. I ran a D&D one-shot for it, which was fun.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Work on a children's book, finish some other story. I didn't do most of these things. Find a therapist, did that. So I, accomplished. Daily vitamins, I have been doing that. So, there's some things I have been doing and some things I haven't. But yeah, some finance stuff, some work stuff. So I had a bunch of mixed goals in here for I had different categories for each of my goals, like art, health, home, plants. And I like how plants is a goal category. Social, story, finance, work. So I did best with the health and finance, which is pretty good. And social as well. I did some good social stuff this year. Work obviously has to get done. Art goals kind of tanked, but that's okay. And I did a lot of not my home goals, which is fine. But yeah, that's basically how it went. But those were just monthly goals. So it's hilarious how lofty they were for a month.
That's a lot of goals for 1 month.
Yeah, that's why I stopped doing it. I realized I was doing way too much, but yeah. What about you, Mia? What goals did you set for the beginning of the year?
I don't remember them specifically. I know that I wanted to focus on writing, and I did, but I seriously thought I would get to do some more personal work, and I actually did not do any finished personal paintings this year at all. I just did a few freelance pieces, and mostly just Patreon rewards, which are sketches or drawings, but no paintings. So this is the first year that I have not done an acrylic painting that's for myself, which has felt really weird. Interesting. Did it was a good weird or bad weird? Because you were working on a completely different creative endeavor. Yeah, and so that's the thing. It's at first it felt like bad weird, right? But then there's a trade-off. It's if I spent the entire year pretty much focusing on writing, and I got really far with that. Of course, something's gotta, like we said in our last episode, you have to be willing to give something up, and that's kind of what had to happen. And so and also because I didn't want to spend time making a lot of acrylic paintings that maybe I'd have to repaint because the story changed so many times, even from last year. So yeah, that was the biggest weird thing compared to previous years. And I think I had this goal for last several years, and I finally did it this year. I started teaching myself how to finally paint digitally on the iPad, but I actually completed my first freelance work digitally, which felt really good. I still have a long way to go, but I was really proud of myself that I did that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So those are some of the bigger things for sure. But yeah, I was also trying to break habits, like bad habits that I like used to cope with last year and just
Yeah.
kind of get back on track. So I feel very accomplished with that side of things too, in terms of non-creative stuff. But mostly just surviving, and my mental health was a real struggle this year. So to me, it's like, it's a win that I'm actually here, like, you know, still making work, and yeah, it could be so much worse. So yeah.
Yeah. Eric, what about you?
Oh man. So as far as goals, I kind of just stumbled through this year, like up and downhill. Like I didn't really set like definitive goals. I kind of just kept it going, you know, full steam from how 2020 left off. Moved into a house, uh, started seeing a therapist for all of my anxiety issues and stuff. And so that was a major thing.
Yeah.
Instead of walking around looping the same thoughts in my head, like mouthing the words F this, F this. But I did have a goal last year. I had mentioned one of my goals talking to my agent was to do a children's book. And I had pitched her a couple of ideas that I had. And I remember her saying, in order to get this moving, we have to show that you could actually do like a regular children's book, right? And so she pitched something to me and I took it, which ended up being the most crazy experience of my entire year. And just kept things going status quo with other clients that I had. But I think the major thing for my year was breaking out of my comfort zone, doing work that I never thought that I would actually do. And while trying to remain present and there for my family, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, because I know I've talked about that a couple of times, how I never wanted to be that artist that is just in their studio all the time while their family is living, right? And you don't have time to do this or that, or take the kids to the park or to see Santa because that painting's due tomorrow or something, you know. But also realizing from talking to you guys that there needs to be a work-life balance. Like for the longest time, there was no work-life balance. It was, I'm going to go as hard as I can for as long as I can until I pass out. And that, you know, financially it's cool, but you know, when you start getting the heart palpitations, and your body's telling you something else, and you go, okay, well maybe I ought to sit down and play some PlayStation. And I got that from talking to you.
Yeah.
So like, you need to slow down. I'm like, maybe I do. But no, it's look, like, and I know that might sound crazy, or like sounds like he's got everything. Like, I'm still trying to start my career. Look, like, I almost gave this up. I was gonna just drive Uber or do whatever I had to do to pay daycare expenses. And now I don't have to have that thought, but it's always in the back of my mind, like everything that I have could stop, by my own hand, or people could just get tired of my work, and I think that's every freelancer's fear, right? They'll go with the new option, the cheaper option, or whatever, it might be, whatever the choice might be. But I don't take anything for granted. It's just, I don't know what next year will be, what it'll hold, but I hope to have more of a work-life balance, and finally beat some of these PlayStation titles that have just been sitting dormant on my machine. I don't even remember the hotkeys or the button fight movements and stuff. I don't even remember anymore. I gotta start the whole game over again. God, but yeah, that's that's my year. So,
That's awesome.
Esther.
Yeah. I love that we all have different experiences, and I think the general theme is that some of it went about right here, and then some of it didn't really go as planned. Mine is the mostly that didn't go as planned as I thought it would be. Not saying it wasn't a bad year career wise, or success wise, or what art wise or whatnot. But I think it's one of those things where for me, I set goals for myself annually, just because I don't even know when that habit came up. It just did. It's every year it's kind of it's not so much the New Year's resolution, but it's more what's gonna I like the idea of what to do for the year. And hilariously, I had yesterday just opened up a document which I had written my plan, and I read it and I was just oh God, those were just bad goals to begin with. Those were just unsustainable. And it was, and I kind of it's one of those things where it's just do the 365 challenge. I was fuck no.
Oh my God.
I did not hit any of that. Right, just those things where it's now that I feel I've grown up a bit after this pandemic year, that I'm just oh, you know what, that may not been sustainable for that year. Maybe it's gonna be for a different time. But now it's recognizing that there is time and place. And I think that for me, overall, I did things that surprisingly I didn't think I was going to do. With I got some really great projects that I worked on. And then on the other hand, it was there were things I definitely wanted to do to, dedicate my time to, and I hit none of that. And it was, so it's a bit oh, is the feeling it was good. Could have been better. But also that work life, that was the big one. I mean, I don't really have a life. I don't have a kid, just families over that way. But there is also the ability to just enjoy, take a breath. Right, and then friends or whoever is your close people, circles, etc. And it was just realizing that oh, I should dedicate a bit more time to this. Oh, but yeah, that was my year in a recap. That was fucky. That's about it.
It's a very good way to summarize.
Lessons learned, comma, fucky.
Yeah. Because 2021 was so weird, just because it was really 2020 part 2. Yeah. But it came with the promise of the light at the end of the tunnel. And then the light kept we kept touching it, and then it kept going farther away, and touch it, goes farther away. So it was kind of this weird game of are we free? Are we not? The pandemic is definitely still on, but we also can like do things now, but can we? Like, it was just, it made things so strange and so uncertain. And it's weird because like 2020 was very much like, you don't go anywhere, stay in your house. And we're like, okay, we know what we're doing. 2021, we don't know what we're doing.
But also we were so fresh on that, like staying indoors, right, in 2020. So we're like, we can do this, right? And like after a whole year of doing that, the prospect of doing it for longer, I mean, the cabin fever was real, like this year, in a way that it was not last year. Like it was insanity.
Yeah, the drain was real and intense. And I mean, like this was like I think one of my worst mental health years. This was also the year that I got diagnosed with ADHD, so I had to reckon with that too.
Right.
And I mean, the reason why I got diagnosed was because it got so much worse in 2020 and 2021, but especially this year, because of like just the fatigue of having to stay in the house and having to deal with the pandemic and the kind of, what is it? The ever-present stress that comes with pandemic. And it's just always there. And it can only weigh on you for so long before things just get really, really exhausting. And I think we all kind of went through it in our own different ways. So like, how did you cope this year with just the world situation? And like being able to go places, but are we, like, that uncertainty? How did you cope with it, Mia?
I mean, I'm one of the only people, aside from my partner, that I know that got the J&J vaccine. So this year was like confusing as heck. And there was like all the news about what you can or can't do, never had the vaccine that I took. And it seemed like a good idea at the time because I'm like, one shot and done. But that was pretty much the last moment that it felt like a good idea, because for the rest of the year, it was just like any bit of news was just that it was the least effective, to the point that they were saying it was only 3% effective after 6 months. Like I was reading all kinds of things like that. So it was just, I think, just out of the lack of information and the two of us just deciding to be more paranoid than not, we decided to basically shelter even more than pretty much anyone we knew. So I only really saw my sister a few times this year, and my parents like after they were all vaccinated, and then a couple friends like one at a time. But that's pretty much it for the entire year. And again, like with the knowledge of what it was like last year, and then having that and knowing that it's like, again, I have this thing that's supposed to protect me, but I don't know how protected I am compared to everyone else. It was extremely draining on my mental health, because even though I'm an introvert, I definitely, miss the social gatherings with my close friends and stuff like that. And honestly, this show kept me afloat, to be honest, you guys, like talking to you guys every couple weeks or whenever we'd record. I was just like, I don't know what I would have done without recording these. And it just, I mean, I have a good friend, Treya, as well, that she and I would like meet up like once or twice a week on Zoom or on Hangouts or something. But if it wasn't for that stuff, like I feel like I just would have, I don't know, just the cabin fever was really intense. And we did finally go just up to the mountains this past month, but that was kind of the only thing we did. And then, obviously I couldn't return to my serving job or anything. So it was really just settling into realizing that, okay, I have to make this work as a freelancer in the future. Cause that definitely didn't happen this year. Like my money's pretty much disappearing after, unemployment ran out. So all of that was affected. So it was just, sort of the uncertainty of starting my career over, which is kind of carried on from last year, and the lack of like social life that has sort of extended. It was those two things were, I think, the hardest for me, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. What about you, Esther?
Could you repeat the question again?
How'd you cope? Not just keep it simple. How'd you cope?
Oh, cope. Yeah. Sorry. I was too intensely listening to be just fine. Being like, damn.
I know.
I don't even. This year was so busy. The thing I think the reason why I was listening so intensely was because I didn't cope. I did like the exact opposite, where like hearing it's pretty crazy how everyone has like not only a different experience, but like also a different like reaction to like the experience. And for me, I was just like like working and then trying to not work and then working some more, which was a bad idea. That's a deserved bunk. But like it felt like I was explaining this to somebody else, but this felt like the like freelance fantasy that I've had like for a long time, where it was just like, oh, I get to be in home all day with like my dog and my cat, and this is what it's like to be a freelancer. And it's just like, it's month 12. I'm just like, fuck.
Get me out of here.
And it's like, oh, I see why people like live close to their family. Like, I think for me, the things that like would have helped me cope with this year, like with the stress of working from home and also like taking on like a lot of work, it would have actually been like if I was closer to my family, like that would have been that release, or like the enjoyment or whatnot. I couldn't really achieve that because COVID. And my mom is also like, my parents are paranoid. My dad caught COVID twice. Well, they both caught COVID twice. Yeah. And so like, I was like careful, so I couldn't really visit. And then I realized at some point, my mom, when people, when like you have a parent that says like, no, don't do this, don't ever do this, like don't buy gifts for me, but like really they mean do buy a gift for me with Christmas. So it was like 8, 9 months later where I realized when my mom kept saying don't visit, we're scared of COVID, that I was just like, oh, she's just saying that. She would appreciate if I actually flew back. And actually, that I'm going on a rant, but like something that really did help was like, for me, it was just that visit. Like I flew into New York at 6 a.m. and left 8 p.m.
Oh my God.
to see my mom and dad. It was just to see them, and it was like we got home, ate food, went to like Manhattan, like outside, took a stroll in the park, and then like sun was setting and dad drove me back to the airport. And that was probably the highlight. That was like the highlight.
Oh, Esther.
So yeah.
It's rough. Yeah.
What about you, Eric?
Oh, most of my family's gone, so I don't have. I mean, my wife's family would come by, and we're an hour away from people instead of being 5 hours away from them, so it's a lot easier for people to stop by. But then it became an issue of, okay, well, have you been vaccinated? Where have you been? The slightest cough, is that allergies, or do you need to get the hell out of my house? Kind of conversations. Kind of been dodging COVID like the Matrix, like all year. I kind of just been saying it like that. Like we just recently dodged 2, family members that we were in contact with, came down with it, days after we were around them. And we're like, oh boy.
Oh man.
So it's literally been a crapshoot. Like, are you going to get, is it going to happen this month?
Yeah.
But it's, how do I cope? I cope by trying not to leave this room as much as possible. That's been my coping mechanism. And that's probably not a good one, but it's like what I've realized from going to my fancy therapist is that this is my fortress of solitude.
Yeah.
This is my safe spot. Nobody can hurt me in this room. When I step foot out of this room is when life kicks in and is like, punches me in the face and is like, like, this is going to happen to you now, sucker. Right? Like, oh my God, I should have just put a mini fridge in my studio so I never have to leave. Right? But yeah, I coped by working as much as I possibly could. So I always had an excuse not to be around large groups or family events and gatherings and things like that. There was always a deadline. But now by having that work-life balance, I am going to find myself bullet timing a lot more than I want to be. But well, you know, we'll be all right. Fingers
Yeah.
crossed.
Ooh.
But oh, I left out a goal. I'm working on my abs, working on these abs,
Oh, yeah.
trying to get at least one
At least-
visible.
Not at least the one.
I
Just
think you have
one.
one at least.
Well, I
Just
can
a
get
single
one,
ab.
one a year. Pop,
that'd be
pop,
pretty-
just like
In 6 years, that's not that bad.
it's
Yeah.
The goal.
like at the right frame
Reasonable
of light.
goal.
It's like
Well, I was just gonna say, wouldn't it be harder to get one versus two? Like,
Right?
I don't know. I'm like, if you're just doing crunches,
Really
by
isolate.
once,
To really focus on that one side.
just one side, just do that. But
Just doing that mean limited crunch.
yeah, each of us, like you said, each of us have dealt with this pandemic and being home. Even though this is the life we chose to be, you know, solitary and work by ourselves and create content for the world to see. It is a solitary life, lifestyle, work life. But if not for the pandemic, I can't say that I would have changed the amount of time I spend in my studio space, because I just like being alone. I know that sounds weird, but it just, like, I'm at my most calm when I'm by myself. But when you're dealing with all these other things, it's not just deadlines, it's not just catching a little cold if, you know, we go somewhere. It's, could I have some, I don't know, what's that word, that comorbidity, something? Could I have something that could have me snuffed out in another week or so? Oh my God. That's an extra level of stress I don't think anybody ever wants or ever wanted. But now it's got to be a part of our daily life forever. So I don't know. Like, it'd be cool.
Dude,
for-
I didn't even think that way. Just gotta
Oh.
put it out there. I didn't even, nope.
You got on a plane, that would have been the last thing I do. Then not only are they coughing on each other, they having full-blown fist fights, drunken fist fights on a plane, and you sitting there like eating the peanuts. I'm like, no,
No,
I'm good. We'll FaceTime.
no, like I had to like start to kind of master my anxiety after 2020, especially. Just like the way that I handled it was not good last year, just with the stress and anxiety of COVID and everything. And so, you know, for this year, I was like, okay, I need to just like kind of control myself a little bit. Like, I need to be able to do things and see people. You know, now that I'm, you know, I've done what I needed to do to maximize, like, to protect myself and to protect others. And I still always wear a mask everywhere I go. I don't even go that many places, but when I do, I just have to make sure that I'm doing all I can to like shield myself from the anxiety of it. Because if I go into that spiral, I'll never come out of it. It's just not healthy for me to think like that anymore. So I can't. So I'm just like, okay, like if there's anybody, I think at this point, anybody who would have been high risk in my life is all vaccinated. So I don't have to worry too hard about that anymore, because I'm like, okay, even if anything happens, we have a level of protection against this. It's okay. So, you know, like I did finally get to fly and see my family. I did finally get to fly and see my friends. You know, I got to meet friends who I'd never actually met in person before. You know, like, so that was really, it was awesome. And I just got to have experiences that I had really, really been missing, because I am an ambivert. So I go in between both worlds of, I love being alone and I love being in my house and being in my own space. But after a while, I'm like, I think I need social time. I need friends. I need someone to be around. And so I had to find that balance of being able to do that in a safe way that didn't give me anxiety, which but gave me like, you know, basically the socialization that I needed. But at the same time, again, it was a really hard mental health year. So I also had to learn how to balance myself and how to master myself in terms of my habits, the ADHD that I've been managing, trying to keep on top of all the things that I still had to keep on top of, all the work I needed to do, freelance and full time. And it was a lot. And it's weird because I feel like before May, when I got vaccinated, I literally cannot remember the first 4 months of this year at all. And I can't really remember much before July, even when I got to like take my first vacation. But I managed, and we're at the end of the year now. So, I'm hoping that next year will be better, but it's definitely not going to be the same.
Yeah.
It's going to be a new weird normal. But I am really tired of feeling kind of the strain of this whole thing. So I don't know what can happen about that, but I think that changing mindset is probably the only way that we're going to get on top of that, because I don't know if this is going to change anytime soon. So that's really all we can do, is just try to think better and try to be better to ourselves and try to be kinder to ourselves, so that we're not burying ourselves in the work in order to avoid stress, because it's just more stress to avoid stress. So it's not really healthy. And that's something I've had to learn a lot as well. So yeah, it's been a hard year. Panic attacks, that wasn't fun. Like, just projects that never end. But we're at the end of it now. And yeah, May 2022 be better. So what are we going to do next year? I'm really curious, Esther. You said you set goals every year. I want to hear about your goals. Like, I want to know what you got planned. I know that this whole situation throws curveballs at us. So despite the curveballs, curveballs notwithstanding, what are your plans for 2022?
Well, I tried opening an online school. I think it went pretty okay. Like, 3 terms, like, it was foot in the water. Classes happened. It was great. And I want to dedicate more time to it. Like,
Tell me more.
I had this great plan. I still need to come up with, if once this recording even pops up too, I'm still in the works of trying to figure out, next term. But it was just like this year, I got so overwhelmed with work and everything that, the things I set up to do in the beginning of the year, I didn't really get to do. And then, I realized I could do this better. I could do this better. And when you get overwhelmed by decisions, that's kind of me, where I'm just not, and then you just don't end up actually making a choice. That kind of happened. But I want to dedicate more time to growing that school and online-ish community. Because I love teaching. It's not. I shouldn't say school. It's education platform. I want to connect artists who do want to teach, and not beholden to some huge schedule, and with students who want to pay for that type of guidance, because I think that's important, especially in a time where you're getting you have so much information, there's so much resource, so I think that's a boon. But at the same time, I think that makes classrooms more valuable, not in person / connection. I don't want to say networking, because networking has a different connotation, but it's you want to make a connection with new talent, emerging talent, and also stay in touch. And I think that makes the classroom more valuable, instead of before, for me, when I had to, as a student studying, you'd sign up for a class pre-recorded. You don't really get to know the instructor. You'll get to know your fellow students. And I think that's just something that's kind of missing, especially in an increasingly more larger art community. It's not just like, thank God, it's not just like the bubble of LA or like you know the Northeast artists, you know, back then when we were all studying illustration, when you know like you're either from Florida, New York, Savannah, or Maine, like or Rhode Island. There you go. I'm not even, you know what I mean when I say that too. So
Mhm.
like, you know, now, or you know, you were not from there and you were from like Los Angeles or San Francisco. Again, you don't even need to, you know, you understand, you guys understand what I'm saying. But now it's like, you know, it's so much more global and you can connect with more people. That was kind of like a goal and vision I had for kind of like trying to connect more people. I don't know if you guys remember that old like mentor program called Mordivardi. Like it used to be just this like, I remember it ran for a few years. It was just like a like connecting mentor with mentees. And it was really nice. And I would say, I don't know why I'm bringing that one up, but it's more like that's kind of like one of the closest things I can think of, you know, like my goals for creating some sort of like more like an educational like portal, I would say. So yeah, I tried doing that. I still am doing that. It's a struggle bus. um, but like that's something I want to focus on in 2022, which is more on the educational side of my like life, because I love teaching and I really want to dedicate more time to having lessons and having classrooms, basically virtual classrooms. But yeah. Oh, I love like fresh like people who still love art. Like
Isn't that the best though?
yeah,
Like Lightbox? When I went to
yeah,
Lightbox and I talked to people who are trying to break into the industry and they're so excited and they're so
yeah.
passionate. And I'm like, oh, they're not jaded. They haven't been
No.
eroded by this industry yet.
And it's also
set up.
So
yeah,
nice.
and it's also like they like to challenge like
Mhm.
whatever is current, you know, like if
Yeah.
those people are like the people I'd love to meet and you know be like affected by and learn too from them, because it's just like, you know, when you're working, you know, again it's just like, oh, how could it be bad if you're, you know, working, you have a career. I'm like, yeah, but the point is, you know, like things always can be improved. And
Yeah.
I, you know, that's always something that I looked for, and like I love to you know hear from too. So it's always just like, God, I love people with an opinion.
Yeah. Like they're really like, they're thinking about how they can continue to learn and grow. Like when there's
Yeah,
that person in the Discord who's like doing those challenges for themselves. I'm just like, man, like they're really going
yeah,
at it and you can see them improving with like each one. And I'm like, this is so impressive. Like
it's
I wish I
awesome.
had the energy to do something like this. Like it's just so nice to see it. Yeah, I completely agree. It definitely feels different when you get to spend time with people who are at a different stage in life in their career than you are. Um, it's good to get that perspective again. It reminds me of when I was younger, you know, like, and I'm like, oh, I remember feeling like that once, like just feeling excited about things. I wonder what that's like.
Oh yeah, I remember
Genuine excitement.
challenging the system.
Yeah, give me some of that, please. That's really cool though that you're doing something that's such a wonderful endeavor though, starting an online school. Like how did you balance that with your full-time?
Yeah, seriously.
I always taught.
Yeah, that's true.
So
But like you this is your thing.
yeah, no comment. Well, no, it's I gotta get a little bit. And this has put my let's just put it this way. My old time managing skills were not good time managing skills, and they must be
Rethought.
rethought.
Understood.
And that is the goal for 2022.
I feel like that's honestly the answer that we get anytime we ask literally any artist. I'm like, how do you balance it all? They're just like, I don't
know.
know.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like, maybe one day we'll find the answer. But that's awesome, Esther.
The answer is to play video games.
Play video games. I
That's the
am going to
answer.
play Hades after this is over.
Nice.
Like, just guaranteeing you that right now. Eric, what about you? What are your goals for 2022, Eric?
I want to do more magic cards.
Yes.
I mean, it's like it's something that I legit had been waiting to do or hoping I would get a chance to do for like 20 years of my career. And when you just accept that it's not going to happen, then all of a sudden it's, hey, are you available? Oh my God. Hell yeah, I'm available. Like, throw me all of the cards. But yeah, no, I want to do that. I'm going to do more of that. I know we talked about the idea of doing another children's book, but I'm thinking more along the lines of a graphic novel, or like a picture book-ish Dinotopia style, something like that.
Do you
where-
want a life? Like,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That's even
Look,
more work. than
It's
kids.
well, I mean, it's only more work if I'm not trying to sculpt a diorama and drop it on a giant mirror and like, I like ZBrush exists now. Like, I'm like, I'm not going that far. But no, I'm thinking about it because I've got a whole list of images that I started when I had the time, that were in line with the some of the paintings that got me recognition. And I want to finish those paintings. So I've been kind of torn between, do I do them digitally just to get the project done or like get pitch material done, or do I do them in oils? Because I look to artists like Kadir Nelson, who does these like beautifully rendered books, and he's just nailing these oil paintings. And I'm like, God, man, like, what's his time management like? But like, so there's that part of me that wants to actually have a book. Like, I was really happy for my friend Tim when he came on this year and showed us his Infinitum book, because he had worked on that for like
For so long.
2 or 3 years, just knocking it out. And it was like that, left us with that one line, remember, finish what you start.
No one's
So
gonna care if you don't finish. You just
nobody's
gotta
gonna
finish.
care.
Yeah.
Right. And I was just reading a Facebook post from the creator of this comic book, a graphic novel called Trill League. I don't know if you guys are familiar with Anthony
I
Piper's
love Trill
thing.
League.
So for those that aren't aware, there's this comic book artist, writer, named Anthony Piper, and he created this creator-owned property called Trill League. It's like a spoof on
DC Comics.
the DC comic book characters, but like all Black characters.
Yeah.
And it really took off. It really launched him, and he, found an agent and moved to Hollywood and was like writing and all this stuff. But he was just, in this recent post, was talking about, if you have a project, if you have an IP that you've been thinking about starting, or a project that you've been thinking about, getting out there, do it. Because there's so many publishers, so many studios that are out there. They want this new content. And, if it doesn't look like the same cookie cutter nonsense, like, you've got a shot.
Mhm.
So, and, a lot of people are experiencing that hunger from a lot of these publishers right now. So, dipping my toe in that just feels like, why not? Like, the worst that can happen is they don't like it, or, I just end up with a bunch of art, but that nobody wants to see.
That's literally impossible.
Yeah, but in addition to that, the magic cards, trying to hopefully work on my own thing. We should like edit this part of our conversation into next year's video. Like, what did they
Yeah.
previously on? I have a
Painted
That
in
flashback.
color.
ripple effect,
Yeah.
like-
Yeah, we just have like the sepia toned or whatever, just like all this stuff.
Like vast
Green
things are
filter.
going to happen. Like, nope. But I was invited to be a artist guest at a WorldCon in Chicago next year.
Nice.
So not the artist guest of honor, but just like
A guest.
a guest
Yeah.
artist, which
Okay.
is still a big deal to me.
That's dope,
Because
Eric.
the last time I went to WorldCon, it was at the beginning of my career. So I was 21,
Nice.
fresh out of college, cheesing it up, standing next to like all these sci-fi fantasy book cover illustrators, like heaven. I was in such like going up close and looking at these paintings, real oil paintings. Like nobody was printing digital stuff and on canvas and hanging it. Like if you had to paint, right? And I love that stuff. So for them to ask me to come back as a guest and like, well, we're gonna fly you out to Chicago. I'm like, well, like I just hope I don't get the flight where they're like, F you, I'll drink what I want. It's like, please just get us there in one piece. But the guest of honor is going to be Floyd Norman. He was the first Black
Yeah.
Walt Disney feature
Animator.
animation animator.
Yeah.
Worked on Bambi.
Mhm.
So he's like in his 80s. And I'm like, I want to meet this man.
Better
know,
meet him.
That's huge. Because I've met Ron Husband, who is the second. They went from Floyd Norman, skipped a couple decades, and then hired the other one. Like, now it's like we only got room for one of y'all, right?
Oh my God.
Wow. But
There's Bruce
wanna-
Smith too.
huh?
Bruce Smith as well.
Bruce Smith?
Yeah. He
Oh, I gotta
animated-
look that up.
He
Okay.
did the Proud Family. That was his show. I mean, he's doing
Oh, really?
Okay.
now. Yeah, and he animated the Dr. Facilier and Princess and the Frog and a bunch of iconic characters. Like he's a
Cool.
fantastic.
Awesome.
fantastic animator.
Okay. I have to look him up. That's exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's that. And hopefully if pandemic willing, I would like all of us to meet at IlixCon.
That would be
Can we though?
would be
Because
amazing.
here's what I'm thinking. If the moons
That's
align and everything, Spider-Verse will be in theaters.
Bree.
I know
That's
we
what
need
I'm
to bring Bree.
I mean, like, oh, wait, what else she got to do? I'm like, oh, I'm working on Netflix, blah, blah, blah. No, like she can bring herself to Pennsylvania for like a day and then do one of Esther's things and just like fly back the same day. Like later for y'all, I got Netflix stuff to do.
She'll do the Esther. She'll come down to the Esther in Pennsylvania.
But
No,
I think
if
that
I
would
could
be cool.
Because
Like
I could just go to Pinna and just visit home as well afterwards.
there you go.
Which is
We
great.
could like walk around with like painted and color t-shirts and
We could get painted in color branding.
branding and like high-fiving people in the showcase.
Oh my god.
Also, we need to come up with an episode idea for Vertex 2022 as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
For
Yeah.
it's UK Con, obviously it's virtual, but we should definitely do that.
I'll have at least 2 abs by then.
2 abs. 2 whole abs.
2 whole
I'm so
abs.
proud of you.
It's got to be a goal, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I
It was
lost
like-
weight. That was a goal I did this year. I lost weight.
There you
Oh,
go.
good for you. That's awesome.
I got down to 130. It didn't last very long, but I got down to it, which is, it's better than that last year for sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
But that's really all I can think about for next year. I gotta paint this room. I think when we come back from our for our first episode of next year. I might have this room like YouTube ready.
YouTube ready. I'm into
YouTube
that.
ready with like
Okay.
backlights, rim lights, all kinds of stuff, and be like, "What up, everybody?" I don't
It's gonna be
know.
like your big ring light, just like you can see it
The whole
reflected in your eyes.
business.
Follow our channel for more content like this. Sorry, Mia. What are your goals for 2022?
Oh, I don't have a lot. I mean, I just want to work on this book basically and get it closer to done. I mean, I think for me, the main goal would be to just stifle my anxiety long enough to get the shit done, because it will never go away. I know that. And that's the funny thing. We're all talking about coping this year. It's like, I feel like we've all had to cope with stress and anxiety so many different ways this year, that the plus about that is that now I have all these different ways that I can attack it because we've had to, it just keeps coming back. But yeah, I think that's kind of my main one. I think that I'm just looking at the future too and thinking about how to balance freelance with my own work, because I want to keep doing this kind of thing. And if I do, I either have to make an income somehow, and so it's just, I'm actually starting the year with some freelance. So we'll see how that goes. But in the past, it's been like freelance or my stuff, and I have to figure out how to do both. So that's going to be a pretty big challenge, I think. But yeah, I guess it's just try to be kinder to myself, so that I can be happy with my work, as we talked about in the last episode. Actually, we were streaming this morning, so I know we're posting this up later than we're recording it, but something I kind of realized was that learning to be happy with the gaps in your knowledge or whatever that is, or where you are with your work, and learning to kind of be at peace with that, because that will never go away at any point in your career.
Yeah.
Even 10 years from now, if I do get, better, I will still find holes that I can see. And so it's just about learning to be happy with that. And same with the anxiety, right? It's never going to go away. So just knowing it's going to be there and just being like, shut up so I can work. I think that was something Victoria Ying said actually in the ADHD podcast or episode. So yeah, it's just kind of more of that. And anyway.
Yes.
My daughter taught me, she came up and she taught me something. It's a hand gesture. And I want you to practice this, because this is what I feel is coming your way for 2022. She says, "Daddy, you take your hand like this and then you do this." She says, "Do you know what that means?" And I'm like, "No, baby, what's that mean?" It means making money.
Oh my God, I love her. She's
like,
so cute.
It's like, yeah, baby, that's right. That's right. So Mia, you ought to practice that. Just walk around the house.
Oh my God. No, I don't know.
You want to put a little bop to it? I don't know.
Yeah.
however you want to jazz it up.
Just really work it. Work it, Mia.
She's so embarrassed. She's like, no.
Mia,
No, it's so funny, because it's like the first time since like 2014 that I do not have an income, and it's like, and just it feels like my anxiety is just like watching the money run out, and just like, this is not right. But I know I'm doing it for a reason, it's like, because I'm focusing on this thing that's like,
yeah, it's all the energy is just going towards something, so it doesn't look like much. I think like living in this culture has taught us like instant gratification all the time, forever. It's very unfair, because it makes us feel like we're not doing anything as we're building towards something actively, because we don't see the physical results right then and there. And so we're just like, we must not be doing anything. It's like, we must dispel this immediately and let us, go through the process and work for the things that are going to get us eventually the things that we need to get out of life, whether that's fulfillment or money or just a body of work. All of those things are valid. And so like this society's just taught us that money is everything, and it's really not everything. And you're surviving, you're still surviving without having to make that income. And that's amazing that you can even do that. And like, like the fact that you can focus on that is, just keep focusing on it. Like, don't let your anxiety is going to tell you all these things. It's like, hey, you're doing the wrong things. And it's like, it's a liar. And you have to internalize that it's a liar.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's actually something I'll share this in case anyone can use this, but my therapist has told me to do like write down the times like you worried about something and then it didn't even end up happening. And that's happened so many times this year. And then write down what actually happened so that you have a list of lies that your brain wants to tell you and a list of reality. And then over time, you start seeing that your brain is actually unreliable in those ways. And so but yeah, it's taken a long time. And I think same with freelance. It's like because I'm still so new to it, it's like the more jobs I do and I'm able to actually turn it in and they're happy with it, then I can believe that the work is good. But when you're your own boss and you're the worst critic, like it's so hard to gain that confidence, I think, because we're all harder on ourselves than other people are on us. And so it's been a roller coaster this year for sure, emotionally, but I'm just proud of myself that I was able to survive and that I met every deadline that came at me. And I just, honestly, if I can just do that next year, I would be happy. Like I don't have very, very lofty goals beyond that.
You
I
will.
keep doing this show with you guys too. We did 24 episodes this year, counting this one.
We
I'm so freaking proud of us.
I think we only skipped what, 1 week, I think 2 weeks.
I think so.
Out
Yeah.
of this year. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
We kept it
I
up
was
throughout this whole.
I was counting. I was
year.
like, it's amazing.
Yay. Yeah, we just released, what was it? This was Perfectionism was episode 30, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, 30 episodes of Painting in Color. I think that's a beautiful thing.
it is.
Yay. Yeah, I'm trying not to also do lofty goals either, because I also fall into that problem, Esther, where my goals are, they always tend to be way too big. I mean, you know, in the beginning of the episode, I was like, yeah, my monthly goals should have been my yearly goal. So next year, I think what I realized in this house that I've created for myself, this space that I've created for myself, I realized that I didn't really make a space for me to be creative. I thought that it would be my office, but my office is a space where I work and where I do my Etsy store stuff like fulfillment, but it's not the space where I actually sit and draw and relax. And so next year, what I really want to do is make my guest room the space where I can feel like I can just like sit and draw or read or just like go into that room, decompress. I do not take work into there. I do not take my work computer into that room. Only sketchbooks and books and, you know, nice things go into that room, and plants and lights and things like that. So I want to do that. And with having a creative space to work, I actually want to finally start working on the avant-garde. I've been meaning to forever. I started working on the next piece and then it just stayed there forever. So I want to finally just start working on that series. It doesn't really matter. I'm not going to count how many pieces I do. Even if I don't like finish, you know, a bunch of illustrations, it's not a big deal. I just want to be able to start working towards that goal at my own pace. Because it's something I've been wanting to do for years now. And I'm realizing like, oh, I'm just letting years slip by without me doing this project that I said I was going to do. And again, you know, with some fielders, like nobody's going to care about this thing. Like if you don't do it, like it just doesn't exist. And I'm like, I would rather it exist and be in the world and, you know, be giving joy and something in return. Like I don't even have expectations for it. I just want to create things that I enjoy creating. That's like, I think my main goal for the next year is make the creative space and create in it.
Perfect.
Yeah. Also, obviously, yeah, be kinder to myself. You know, try to continue to dispel my negative thought processes and find also better coping mechanisms now that I know I have it for my ADHD, so that I can actually create like, you know, alongside it and with it and be friends with it. And so that includes like making my space like more accessible to me, you know, or organizing things that work for an ADHD brain, you know, having things be visible rather than hidden so they don't go away in my short-term memory. It's like, oh, that doesn't exist anymore. Because that's definitely a problem. When things are hidden away, I don't remember that they exist. So definitely trying to be better about that. Yeah, I just want to be, you know, continue to be healthy like I have been this year. I've been pretty good about that. And I just want to be happier. I just want to be happier next year. That's all. So yeah, be creative, make a space that I create in, be happier, be kinder. Those are my main goals for 2022. So in a nutshell, it's been a hard year and I just wanted it to be over. It's going to be over soon. It's going to be better. And yeah, if we can go to cons together, I would be really, really psyched about that. I really miss conventions. I really miss conventions. So
It would be so weird to see your faces in 3D. Like,
I
what the heck?
know. Yeah, I'll get to hug you again.
Oh my gosh. Ah, it's been too long.
Yeah.
I'm gonna bring my camera. Like I'm gonna like do video. I'm gonna record video of my trips.
Yeah.
To make YouTube videos out of it. Maybe edit it together into an episode or something like,
Cool.
you know, like the gang goes to IlluxCon. Gang goes
Gang
to
goes
Lightbox.
to-
Like
Well,
edit in the music from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh yes. With like the title card and everything.
But
Oh,
yeah,
man.
so that's our goals. That's what we got out of the year, this year. You know, we just have to stick to what we say we want to do for next year. Make as much of it happen as we possibly can. Stay healthy so that it can happen, and I don't know, go from there.
Yeah, and even if we don't, we also need to learn how to focus on the things that we actually did do
Yeah.
and not beat ourselves up for the things that we didn't get the chance to do.
Mhm.
It's too easy to do that, and I've done it way too often. So no point in beating yourself up when you actually did accomplish something. You're just not looking at it.
Yeah.
So don't take attention away from the things that you did. In the comments, please put any of your goals or what you experienced or learned from 2021 and what you want to bring into 2022. Would love to see your stories as well. And yeah, onward and upward. This has been rough for everybody, but we got through it. The year is pretty much over, and it's going to be better next year.
And thank you all for following us. Over 600 subscribers.
Yes.
Like, you guys are the best.
Yeah.
Seriously. Thank you
Over
so much.
over 30 episodes.
I know.
So if you like what we're doing, smash that like button and subscribe button. Please comment on our stuff, share the channel if you know anybody in your life who could benefit from this, or just your network in general. And thank you for all your support. Thank you for participating in our live chats and having the conversations. That has been so much fun to really see, how much participation we get and the amazing conversations. So seriously, thank you all so much for being active. And again, if you want to be active, also please feel free to join our Facebook group if you're on Facebook, the Painted in Podcast discussion group. What? Painted in Podcast? The Painted in Color Podcast discussion group. I can speak words, I promise. And yeah, please feel free to join the community and keep the conversation going. But thank you so much. Happy 2022 or end of 2021, whichever way you want to see it. And have an amazing next year. Bye, everybody. We made it.